Welcome to another episode of Digging the Truth. I'm Dr. Rick Wadge, and I'm digging the truth, and I hope you are too. Okay, so we're on episode 35, which I've entitled Stories from the Grave. We've come a long ways in this series, 3 seasons, looking through myths and legends. We've got a long ways to go, but we really want to get into this topic, and I want to start off by quoting from a well-known biblical commentator, William Barclay, Dr. Barclay, and he said this. We've already said that we are here face to face with one of the most difficult passages, not only in Peter's letter, but in the whole New Testament. Okay, here's a test for you. Does anyone know to what passage Dr. Barclay was referencing? Well, this one right here. 1 Peter, starting in chapter 3, verse 18. It says this, "For Christ also suffered once for sins, the righteous for the unrighteous, that he might bring us to God, being put to death in the flesh, but made alive in the Spirit, in which he went and proclaimed to the spirits in prison, because they formerly did not obey, when God's patience waited in the days of Noah while the ark was being prepared, in which a few, that is, 8 persons, were brought safely through water." Now, church father St. Chrysostom in the 4th century said this, "Who but an infidel would deny that Christ was in hell?" Clement of Alexandria, 100 years before in the 3rd century, would write this, "The Lord preached the gospel to those in Hades, as well as to all in earth, in order that all might believe and be saved, wherever they were. If then the Lord descended to Hades for no other end but to preach the gospel, as he did descend, it was either to preach the gospel to all or to the Hebrews only. If accordingly to all, then all who believe shall be saved, although they may be of the Gentiles on making their profession there." Well, there are many views on this passage in Peter's, Kepha's first letter, but there are only 2 basic perspectives when you really break them all down. Here they are. Number 1, when the Messiah died while his body was in the tomb, his spirit announced victory over sin and death to those who had died at the time of the flood. Or 2, that the spirit of Messiah preached through Noah before the time of the flood. So are there any other passages which refer and take us back to this event that's vaguely spoken of? Well, only a couple. Let's go to both. Acts chapter 2, starting in verse 31. It says this about Messiah. "He foresaw and spoke about the resurrection of the Christ, that he was not abandoned to Hades, nor did his flesh see corruption." Then let's go to Rabbi Shaul, the Apostle Paul, in his letter to the Ephesians, chapter 4, starting in verse 8. "Therefore it says, when he ascended on high, he led a host of captives, and he gave gifts to men." Now, in saying he ascended, what does it mean but that he had also descended into the lower regions of the earth? He who ascended, or he who descended, is the one who also ascended far above all the heavens, that he might fill all things. Now, a couple of things to consider regarding the passage in 1 Peter, which is this. Starting in verse 19, "in which he went and proclaimed to the spirits in prison." Okay, so the word here for prison, phulake, means this. Prison, or it means to watch, can mean to keep. It can also mean a cage. It's also used in the book of Revelation regarding the place where Satan, Hasatan, is kept. Revelation chapter 20, starting in verse 7. "And when the 1,000 years are ended, Satan will be released from his prison." Now, and the second side note to 1 Peter chapter 3 is that the phrase in verse 20, which says this, that we're brought safely through water, is the Jewish phrase for a person who repents and then is placed in the water of a mikvah, a baptismal, if you will. He is, quote, kept alive through the waters. In other words, he repented and showed it through the washing with water.
If you enjoyed this clip, please feel free to check out the full version in the link located in the description panel below. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel. You can also connect with us on Facebook and Twitter. As always, help yourself to the diverse array of teachings located on this YouTube channel or on our website at glc.us.com.